The first thing we're going to cover is just explaining what Hummingbot is and what the purpose of Botcamp, for those of you who are new to open source and Arbitrage. And then we'll cover the content of our upcoming 2 cohorts for Botcamp. We have one cohort 7 starting in about 1 week. We're kind of using that one as like a training course for people who are really want to use to kind of develop strategies using the new Hummingbot V2 framework. And then we have another cohort coming up in July that's going to be more focused on the theory and the practice of market making. So I'll explain in a bit more detail the differences between these 2 cohorts. And then finally, we're also going to launch some courses, pre-recorded content that provides introductory material for people. So I'll also explain the difference between the courses and the cohorts. So that's really the schedule for today. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand if you want to explain what your question is, or you can also just drop it in the chat and I'll try to answer your questions in real time. And then afterwards, if we have time, I'll probably just give a quick demo of some of the bots that he's running personally, using the V2 framework just to show you guys the power of what you can do with the new V2 framework. Okay, sound good? So let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about what is Hummingbot and what is Botcamp first. So Hummingbot is the open source operating system for crypto algo traders. We created the open source project. It's actually been about 5 years now since we it actually might be 5 years this month since the first time that we committed to the open source repository on GitHub. But initially it was just a very simple market making bot that people could use. But over the past 5 years, it's gotten adoption, especially among market makers and individual liquidity miners who are using the software to earn rewards and to run market making strategies for themselves. And so today it's more powerful. It's capable of basically automating any type of a trading strategy and helping users deploy multiple bots across many different exchanges. So we realize that because you have education that's needed in order to really allow people to use the full power of the framework. That's kind of why we started. So I think the other reason we started Botcamp was to try to really grow the community, because the community of Hummingbot, I think, is really what's allowed it to be where it is today. We have many different exchange integrations. And so those integrations are all actually maintained by the community. But it's also, because it's open source, it's gotten adoption among both individuals who are trying to use it for themselves, but also token projects who are trying to market make for their own token, as well as individual market making firms who are trying to launch, and they're looking for software that they can use for free instead of having to build it for themselves. So I think overall Hummingbot, has saved a lot of people a lot of time and effort from a development standpoint, which I think is the purpose of open source. So I just want to point out, we have seen a rise in volumes over the past few months, as I think the bull market has returned and people have more of a need for liquidity, and there's many more markets where people can run bots on. So today we're seeing about 100 to 200 million of volume per day across the board. And it's really, even though the bulk of that volume is coming on centralized exchanges, I think if you look at the long tail, there's actually quite a lot of activity on smaller exchanges, as well as DEXs as well, using Hummingbot. So I think we're actually seeing over 100 different exchanges being used, that's reported. And so we only have 50 connectors in the code base. So I think this shows that the software has been forked many times. And for us, that's good, because it means that more people are using Hummingbot out there. So as I mentioned, Botcamp, we created Botcamp about a year ago. And the reason we did so was because we realized that Hummingbot is getting more complex. We ourselves are running various types of bots. We're creating different types of strategies. And so we wanted to create something that would help users out there understand how to use Hummingbot, and build whatever strategies they wanted to build. So we kind of focus on this cohort-based model initially, where we have basically 5-week intensive boot camps, where we basically take students through the framework, show them how it works, and then help them basically build whatever custom strategy they want to build. We also try to leverage the Hummingbot community in terms of having mentors, so that every person that goes to the cohort has an assigned mentor that kind of helps them, during that 5-week period. And then at the very end, people basically demo what they build using, basically in a video, and we present that to the entire cohort. So the overall, it's designed, I would say, really for education, to help someone really understand how to build a custom trading strategy, from 0 to 100 in 5 weeks, basically. So it is, I think we are still making modifications to it. We've already gone through we've done 6 cohorts already. So what we're launching next is cohort 7. But every cohort, we try to make it a bit more, bit more streamlined and take advantage of new features we've built in Hummingbot, lately. In addition, we're also kind of launching some structured courses as well. So these are more pre-recorded content. They also serve as introductory content for the people going through the cohorts. So the cohorts have, and so we used to have more like a subscription model, but right now we've simplified it a lot. So the way it works is if you take a cohort, you get access to all the course materials, for lifetime. And if you buy a course, you also get lifetime access to the course as well. So to explain more how it works, I'll go into more detail on the 2 individual cohorts and how they're set up. But yeah, as I mentioned, we've already done 6 cohorts. So if you look on our YouTube website, you can find different presentations from students in terms of what strategies they built. And the goal, as I mentioned, is really to help you build whatever custom strategy you want to build in that 5-week period. So let's go into more detail. Because cohort 7 is only 1 week away, we've done quite a lot of planning in terms of what it will look like. So let me explain, maybe before I get into the details of the cohort, kind of like what the V2 framework is, why we built it, and what's capable of, and what you'll learn during this cohort. So a basic algo trading strategy is essentially a program that runs every tick. So in our model, the way Hummingbot works is that you basically connect to the different data sources that you want to record. So if someone's trying to record the meeting locally, I'll allow the recording, but we actually we're going to publish this to the YouTube afterwards. So you don't need to record it. We're going to, open source, we're going to publish this anyway. But the way the algo trading strategy works is basically a program. So every tick, Hummingbot will stream data from different markets, and then you can take action based on the data and send orders to those markets. So a basic strategy, I think you can program in just a few lines of code. But what happens when you get more complex? What happens when you want to add like stop losses, when you want to add, logic, when you want to wait on some conditional event happening on exchange and only act when that occurs. So it's what we've seen over time is that, an algo trading strategy can get complex very quickly. And you kind of get to a point where you have to be a very good developer to actually code up these strategies and run them effectively, because you're competing versus all the different other algo traders out there. So, but the reality is that a lot of the things you're doing, you're kind of doing over and over again. You're fetching the order book, you're calculating stop losses, you're implementing take profit levels. So because you're doing this a lot of the same things, what we've done recently is componentize and abstracted a lot of these actions into different components. So this is just something that Fede wrote to explain why we did this, because I think essentially scalability is going to be a problem. If you have individual programs that are doing different things in different markets, you end up basically having all this code everywhere. And it's really hard to diagnose, understand, when something, when you're making money, when something goes wrong, and actually it's hard to actually iterate on your strategy over time. In addition, backtesting is hard because, if you create a very custom strategy and now you have to recreate that strategy in some type of backtesting model in order to model it effectively. And so it's hard to actually create a backtesting engine that is going to kind of like be applied generally on any strategy that you write. So I think when we kind of looked at this, we decided to take a fresh approach. We kind of looked at the initial V1 Hummingbot strategies. We saw what people were building, and we kind of realized that if we actually wanted to kind of have people really customize and build their own things, you needed a higher level framework in order to do so. So that's really the motivation for the strategy V2 framework. So here's how it works. The basic component is called an executor. And so the idea of an executor is that you can basically program this individual piece of logic, and then you can kind of like let it manage itself. So the classic example, I think, is like, it's almost like taking profit and stopping loss. So if you have a position in the market, whether it's a spot or perpetual position, you kind of need to manage it in some way. If you make money, you want the algorithm to automatically take a profit for you. And if, let's say, if prices are, the market becomes dislocated or something weird happens, ideally you want the position to reverse itself, to cap losses at a certain point. So that's why we initially designed this component of the idea of like a position executor that would manage itself. But then we also realized that this same abstraction can be used for different things you want to manage as well. For example, you may want to have something that would help you automate the purchase of a series of tokens in the market. So we created a TWAP executor. And then we also created a few other executors like the Arbitrage executor and the cross-exchange executor that Fede is working on right now. So the idea behind this is that now you can automate these strategies more easily by kind of like just launching executors instead of having to code up all the logic of what the executor is actually doing. So that's basically the main advantage. And then what we've created is a bunch of demo scripts that allow you to leverage these executors in various ways. So one purpose of this Botcamp cohort is to help people understand how to actually use and create their own executors. In addition, I think once you have these executors, now you can also set up another component called a controller. So we've created a controller that is essentially like a sub-strategy. So now you can basically have a controller that kind of interlocks with different executors and kind of like control how these executors behave. And then you can launch different controllers from the same script. So essentially it's what we'll try to do. This can be overwhelming. So that's why what we're trying to do is try to give you like a piece by piece, try to start this cohort with fairly simple versions of these strategies, and then gradually add complexity in weeks 2, 3, and 4. But overall, I think this is like a simple V2 strategy. A simple one is basically fetching data from the market in the form of candles and from order books or trades. And it's basically accessing it through this component we created called the market data provider. Then it's kind of basically doing the basic logic of the strategy. It's basically checking the status, it's making some decision, and then it's automating the execution of that decisions through the executors. So this is a simple one. We'll kind of start here, but then over time, you should be able to basically create more complex versions of your strategies by the end of the cohort. So hopefully by the end of the cohort, you'll understand how to create the more advanced strategies. And then if you wanted to, you can also basically set up a much more sophisticated configuration using the V2 framework. But overall, this cohort is really designed to serve students at their level. So if you want to build something simple, you can. If you want to build something complex, you should also be able to, because we'll pair you up with mentors. So the way this works is that there'll be 5 live sessions and 3 office hours for mentors. So a total of basically 8 sessions over a 5-week period. So it's pretty intense. I think we have about, between 10 to 15 students registered right now. So I think we kind of see this one as like almost like a beta for this model going forward. So to be honest, like we're actually happy with just the number of students we have right now, but I do think we'll probably get a few more over the course of the next week. But overall, it will be a small batch. And I think that's actually what we want, because we want to kind of really make sure that the students who are going through this batch get a good experience and they actually get personalized attention from the mentors that we have. So the way it works is that the first session, we're going to just go through and really make sure that people understand how Hummingbot works. They can run a basic script using Hummingbot. They understand kind of like what a strategy actually is. In the second session, we'll introduce a V2 framework. We'll discuss kind of like in more detail what an executor is, how to kind of like, launch a basic executor, how to kind of use the V2 framework to build, different types of strategies. Between the second session and third session, that's when you have your first mentor office hour. So we will encourage people to team up if they want in the first session. And then in the second session, you can kind of like, we'll kind of like have a list of mentors, and you can basically, we'll pair people up with mentors during the second session. So in the beginning of the second session and third session, you'll have your first office hours. So this is where, depending on what you want to specialize in, we'll have various mentors that specialize in different areas. So for example, so Fede will be more developer oriented. So if you kind of like, if you want to build a more sophisticated strategy, you probably want to have Fede as your mentor. Whereas Kwong is more, he has more knowledge on DEXs. So if you want to build something like a DEX focused strategy, Kwong is probably a better mentor for you. So that's kind of how it's split mentors. But the overall idea is that each mentor will hold 1 office hours each week and basically try to help their students through basically answering questions and help them individually with the strategies. We do these office hours in a group setting because we found that many students have similar questions, and we can kind of like record it afterwards and distribute it to the people, for that mentor. So the third session will be a more of like a, kind of like a more practical live session in terms of like, now that if you actually understand how to use the V2 framework, how do you actually deploy that in prod, and kind of like, and how do you manage multiple bots and all, kind of like the details of running a strategy. So, and then between weeks 3 and 4, you should be working on your custom strategy. So I think the bulk of the time after week 3 should be focused on building a strategy. But in the 4th session, we're going to try to arrange more like a practitioner interview. So something where we can do a demo. So we're not quite sure exactly what we'll do here yet, but this could be a demo of like someone who's actually using Hummingbot in production. Like managing this, like we may have someone from Coin Alpha show how they use market making in production, or something that actually kind of like, where it's like, if you actually wanted to use Hummingbot for real, this is how you would do so. But, and then finally, it would end the last session, demo day. The students will demo what they built, and we will, allocate some prizes to the top participants in demo day. But overall, this cohort, I think this is really designed for people who want to really develop their own custom algo trading strategies, and I think who are more developer oriented. So I think having some basic Python knowledge, I think, is recommended. We have very little kind of development experience. I would recommend that you take the cohort 8, which I think will be more theoretical and less intensive on the development side. Okay, so let me move on. And if there's no more questions about cohort 7, I'll move on and describe how the market making cohort will work. Okay, so I think we just a background. The past cohorts we've done, I think, have looked more like cohort 7. So they're more focused on teaching people how to develop their own algo trading strategies. But I think one point of feedback we've gotten is that some users are not like they're not as technical, but they do want to understand market making because they want to create a market making business, or they just want to be able to run operate a strategy rather than to like actually build a strategy. So, and I think the other thing is we've actually also kind of gotten this feedback from some of the corporate partners that we're organizing Botcamp for as well. So we're actually doing like a market making focused Botcamp for a corporate partner in June. So that's why I think because of that, we should be in a position to basically launch that for the general public sometime in July. So we're not quite exactly sure how this cohort will look like, but this is kind of like the framework that we're currently using in terms of the schedule. So, and bear in mind that this will probably be adjusted quite a bit because we'll be launching this essentially for the first time, for our corporate partner in June. So some of this might be modified as we actually, understand, what their questions are and what people want to learn, and we'll kind of modify this. But the overall idea behind this cohort is that rather than teaching you how to develop your own custom trading strategy, it's really intended to teach you the theory of market making and allow you to be able to deploy and operate a market making strategy, of some kind by the end of the cohort. So this could be like providing liquidity to like running a market making bot on a centralized exchange, or it could be running a market making bot on a decentralized exchange, or it could be just like actually kind of understanding the strategy for a particular token and implementing like a plan to provide liquidity for a particular token. But the plan is to have the live sessions really be focused on theory. So I'll probably do most of them, but because I think that the market making landscape has changed a lot in crypto. So the first session I'll give people a sense for how market making has evolved from traditional finance into crypto. What are the similarities and differences? And how it's almost like why do the opportunities actually exist in crypto versus in traditional finance? And then in the second session, we'll go into more detail on market making strategies on order book exchanges and centralized exchanges. So this is things like the pure market making strategy and the cross exchange market making strategy. But overall, this is more on theory. So this is more on kind of like understanding the kind of the risks involved and why these strategies are set up this way, rather than how to customize them. In the third session, we'll focus more on the deck side. So understanding how an AMM works, as well as the difference between like a Uniswap V2 AMM versus a V3 AMM, as well as how these AMMs differ from order book exchanges and the entire kind of like DEX landscape of how how it exists on different chains and networks and everything right now. So there's a lot to cover in that session, but hopefully I'll give you a sense for what the DEX market making landscape looks like. And then finally, in the fourth session, we'll go into a bit more detail on risk management. This session might be replaced by an interview as well, but we're not quite sure yet. But overall, I think that I want to try to give students in this cohort a sense for what a professional market maker really goes through, so that if you're either trying to hire a market maker, you're trying to launch your own market making business, or you just want to really understand what that industry looks like, you should be able to do so by the end of this cohort. And then finally, I do think the demo day is a good capstone for all cohorts. So here, rather than kind of having to build your own custom strategy, students may just operate a strategy, run a strategy for a period of time, analyze it afterwards, and then submit a video that shows that they understand how a market making strategy actually works. Okay, so if there's any more questions about that, we'll kind of move on. But overall, I think this cohort-based model, I think what we found is the best kind of like way to teach this material, because there's always a lot of hand-holding that I think users need in order to really understand how to kind of build their own strategy. So I think hopefully we can kind of like offer that and have people really learn a lot in a condensed period of time. So in terms of pricing, we kind of like we basically offer these at like a $2,000 kind of like per cohort per seat price point. I think we do give early bird discounts, but because we're actually planning to offer these as kind of like corporate cohorts for certain partners. I don't think we're going to discount this pricing by much, because I think what we found is overall we're offering pretty good value for the amount of time, effort that both we and the mentors put into teaching the students this material. So, but we do have a lot of people who are students, and for a lot of people for whom $2,000 is quite a big investment. So we're also in the course of taking the material that we're teaching and packaging it up into more structured, pre-recorded course content that will sell at a lower price point on the Botcamp website. So we've actually been doing this for a while. So we have some legacy courses that are on our old platform, but because we've created the V2 framework, I think we wanted to kind of like refresh and revamp this material so that it's evergreen, and then so people can they can learn algo trading just from watching the videos, instead of kind of having to kind of like to basically, because this content is kind of outdated. So that's why we're taking some time. We're gonna kind of like migrate them fully to the new site over the next probably 2 months. So I think but I think this should be the permanent home, and the students who have taken Botcamp before will have lifetime access to these new courses. So let me go into more detail. We have the outline for the first 3 courses, so I'll kind of show that right now, and as well as the timeline for publication of the courses. So the first one is called Intro to Algo Trading, and this one will be basically kind of like a mix of kind of like theory, the fundamentals of algo trading, kind of like what I just went through in terms of like describing how trading bots are basically computer programs, what that looks like. I'll kind of talk about the open source versus closed source bot landscape, as well as the different types of strategies that you can build using trading bots. Kind of like whether it's a simple utility strategy versus a more complex like cross-exchange market making strategy. I'll also talk about different types of crypto exchanges that are out there, as well as the differences between them as well. And then we'll drill down a bit more detail into the structure of an order book exchange. So that's kind of the theory part. And then there's a quiz that we'll kind of have as well, that you can kind of reinforce the material. And then the second part of this course is more focused on kind of the strategy part. So for each of these courses, we'll have one or two strategies where we'll go into detail on how to design it, how to code it, and then how to run it. So this one is actually going to be a VWAP strategy, but basically I'll try to use a VWAP strategy in order to teach kind of like the fundamentals of what a strategy actually is and how to code it using Hummingbot. So we're almost done with this course. It should be ready in about a week, but we'll 1 or 2 weeks. But this will be kind of the first, in a series of courses that follow a similar kind of format. So the second course will be called Market Making Strategies. This one, similarly, the first part will be more theory focused on what is market making. Then we'll introduce the Stoikov paper that explains the history of kind of like of how academic approaches market making work. So reservation price, kind of shifting spreads based on market conditions, those kind of things. Sorry, I think someone's not muted. Let me just mute you. out there. But yeah, you can mute yourself, raise your hand if you want to ask a question. I would really appreciate it. So, and then after the theory part of this course, we'll get into more details on how you actually code and design different marketing strategies. So the first one will be a very simple, pure marketing strategy that just kind of explains how the current PMM strategy, how that works. And then we'll look at how to extend that strategy to add basically the Avla Nada-like adjustments to it. So shifting spreads based on volatility, shifting the price based on trend and inventory. And then at the end, actually, one thing I should mention is that we want to actually make this hands-on. So for each of the strategies, we'll have a challenge part where you can kind of like add, right, or extend some element of the strategy. So for example, for the pure marketing strategy, the challenge will be to basically to implement basically what we call order optimization, which is essentially looking at the order book and ensuring that your order either is jumping the best order or staying behind the best order. But so these are kind of things that you can do with Hummingbot. And so the purpose of these courses is to teach you the basics, but then have some hands-on challenge that will get you to actually implement something that will allow you to customize your strategy going forward. So this one will be in probably early May, but we'll kind of both this one and the other course will probably about 1 to 2 hours of video. And with the challenge and kind of using in the coding part, we expect that users can probably take 4 or 5 hours and complete one of these courses in a day. So that's why we hopefully we'll be doing more of these over time. The third one we have is called Rational Strategies. This one is similar to the other ones. First part's going to be theory. We'll talk about the differences between spot and perpetual markets. We'll introduce the triple barrier method, which is, and talk about kind of why that was created. So the triple barrier method is a technique that was introduced in a book that came out about 7 years ago. It's kind of become like the Bible of quant finance. I think it's called Advances in Financial Machine Learning. But the idea behind that is that it's basically it's a very simple way to kind of decompose a position and to kind of allow you to essentially calculate, backtest how a strategy performs more easily. So, and then the strategy we'll focus on here, it will be our RSI strategy, the simple version, as well as kind of probably a more advanced version using the candles feed and the executor. So, but overall, these 3 courses are designed to be the introductory material that shows people the basics of algo trading and prepares them to take the cohorts, which are going to be more intensive and will kind of almost assume that you have some basic knowledge already. So, and over time, we plan to add on more courses. So it's almost like the material we teach in the cohorts are going to be like more the cutting edge material, the hands-on stuff. And over time, we'll try to turn that into more structured content like this. So the price point, you're wondering, we're not quite sure exactly how to price this, but it'll definitely be a lot lower than the cohorts, probably in the neighborhood of like $100 to $500 per course. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the actual the presentation content. If people have questions, happy to take them now. But otherwise, I'll probably hand over to Fede, who's going to just give a demo of the V2 framework in action, so you can see what you'll be able to learn during the cohorts.
There's no questions.
Yep, nothing but audience. But yeah, so I'm sure we'll get more questions afterwards on YouTube. Go ahead and take it over.
Okay. Well, let me organize the tabs here.
I'm gonna mute everyone.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh yeah, I just want to answer the question from Sandeep, who says, is it okay to register for cohort 7 without the theory taught in cohort 8? Yeah, I think the way I think about it is cohort 7 is really kind of like, we're trying to separate them. So cohort 7 is really for people who want to learn the development side of algo trading. So, I think that for cohort 7, it's more important to have some basic Python experience, so you can actually develop, because if you have no coding experience for cohort 7, I think it'd be hard to actually progress and learn all the material. For cohort 8, you don't need, I don't think you need any technical experience. It would be more theory based. So that's why I think for cohort 7, you probably don't need a theory, but I do think you need some basic Python skills.
Great. Well, let me share a screen. Well, I'm going to demo 3 things so you can take an overall view of what you can do with Hummingbot. So,
sorry. I just want to answer one more question from me. I think this is actually an important topic because I think another person asked, will we code anything during cohort 8. Yes, absolutely. So it's kind of like each cohort is designed, this cohort 8 also be designed for people who it'll be more market making focused. But if you want to code, we'll definitely show you how to code like a strategy as well. So I think it's more like, I think for cohort 8, it's more like if you're technical, then we'll show you how to code a strategy. But if you're not technical, then we'll just show you how to run a strategy.
Okay.
All right, Fede. I think now that should cover it. So please go ahead.
Great. Well, let me show you. We'll move this here. Okay. Well, as Mike mentioned, we designed this V2 framework like really to abstract the logic for the user to make it simpler to code strategies or to customize strategies. We found that we did this cohort-based model like a few times already. And when they need to code like a strategy from scratch, it was a little bit difficult. So that's why we started like doing this and improving the framework to make it more like signal oriented, so the user doesn't need to know really well how to code. So in this case, as you can see, I am running one like market making strategy here in XRP FDUSD. It's very like automatic. What you need to do here when you want to run it or when you want to use it is more like understanding how to configure it, how it works, which are like the details of the strategy. But as you can see, I'm here providing liquidity in XRP FDUSD with a very small amount of capital. And I am doing also it on Link FDUSD. But in this case, instead of doing like market making and placing orders for the two sides and trying to capture like the spreads and all that stuff, I'm just playing from one side. So the thing is that this V2 framework lets you do or customize the strategies as you want. Well, in this case, we are using just the same bot to run the two strategies. As you can see here, we are running this controller. That is the one that we are playing on Link. And this is the one that we are playing in XRP. So in this case, I'm enjoying the zero fees on XRP, on FDUSD. That's why we have the spreads so tight, and we are able to do this. If we are trading in a market that doesn't have fees, we are not going to be able to do something like this. But well, this is like the view of how a market making strategy usually works. What we do when we want to set up the spreads, we have some tools. For example, here, this is the tooling that I am using to define my position. In this case, in FDUSD or a link, we are using a component that is new that is called DCA executor in this one. And what it has, as you can see here, we have an order of 0.31, and here we have orders of 2.54. So this order is the second order of the first DCA. So we have like compounded multiple DCAs as a market maker. And the idea of this is that if you can see it here, where is the position builder? Here. As you can see it here, in the first order, we are exposing only $5 is the minimum that we can expose. And the second order we have the max amount quote, the max amount that we can lose is 20 cents. And when we move up to the 1%, we drive the price up to the break-even price up to 0.88% or 89%. So as you can see, we are like break-even very aggressive, and the take profit is in 0.79. So we have to come down up to here. We have to go up 1% and go down only 0.2% to take profit. So this is what we are like trying to learn with these things, how you can build your position, construct how you're going to deploy your orders. And this is like one DCA that can be combined in the graph. Like for example, one DCA from here is going to be combined with one of these. So if the price goes down like this 1%, as we saw in the graph, we only need to go up 0.2 to take profit. And if we go down 0.4, that is a stop loss, like up to here, we lose 0.2 cents. So what we want to teach here is like, first of all, there is like no magic recipe of how to make money. All the strategies are like risk reward. You always need to measure which is the risk that you are like exposed. And based on that risk, you figure out which is a strategy or the configuration that you will need to run, you would like to run. Another good thing about the V2 framework is that what I found, usually I run like 10 bots simultaneously. So I like a lot to tweak the configurations a little bit and see if there is any change on the configurations. And actually, yes, there is a lot. So once you change the config, for example, if you change the value of the take profit, probably one controller, this is like the sub strategy that we mentioned. Probably one controller take profit that has a lower take profit before. The other controller that has a higher take profit didn't take profit. And now the paths of the strategies are completely different. So it's like gonna run the walk after that. So one controller that take profit before probably is not exposed as so much risk as the other one. And if the price then goes down, well, there can be a lot of different things that can happen to the strategy. So usually I like to run multiple versions of configurations of the same bot in the same market and distribute the risk and have like the average performance of the strategy. That's something that we are going to learn also how to do with the B2 framework. So well, this is like this is like a long spot strategy that if the price starts going down, we're going to start capturing much more trading activity. And this is more like a market making strategy where we quote from the two sides and we try to trade as much as possible. So yeah, for now, as you can see, I did like 32 trades in 8 minutes. So, and I can do much more if we want. Well, I think that the purpose of this is more like to show how it works. Well, this is like the first strategy that I would like to show. Then I have another one that is, well, another cool thing about the V2 framework is that works in spot and perpetuals. So you can run and use the same strategy to trade on spot and in perps. This is, I cannot show you the terminal because this is running on a server, but this is one of my strategies that I am trading on Pepe. I'm trying to get pro at Pepe. Today wasn't a good day for Pepe. I lost like in all this trading activity, I lost like $6 we had like 2 stop loss, but actually we can go to the server and see it. But I think that Matic made money. So at the end, we are like sort of break even. Or I think that I made money today. Let's see. Because I configured the bot yesterday with a very aggressive config. Well, let me see when it loads. We are going to see the performance. Well, and another thing that we are like trying to explore all that stuff. I don't know if you remember this position builder. Usually this position builder that is for DCAs. In this case, I'm testing just with 2 orders, but here you can change the number of orders and I don't know, distributing 2, 3, 4%. And I don't know, 1, 2, 4, 8, and 20, let's say. And then you can say, okay, the stop loss will be now 2%, take profit will be like 0.5. Well, and you have a lot of information. And I don't know, with this distribution, you can go up to the 4%. And if you go up to 5.25, you're going to lose $1. So there are a lot of ways that you can use this tool to create your position. But this tool, as it is like not so descriptive, or yeah, it's very descriptive. You know a lot of things about it, but probably you will need also to use some sort of statistics to understand your positions or the market that you are trading on. So where we have a dashboard where you can download candles, you can analyze the candles, play around with them. So we have some examples here. For example, here we are seeing the distribution of returns of in this case, we are talking about a Link. I downloaded the candles of Link, XRP, and Doge that I was just showing that I was trading. And well, with those candles, you can analyze, you find which are the ranges that you would like to trade, how this distribution is over time. Well, we have like different notebooks where you can get inspiration and and start like learning about your data. Well, this one is very cool. I'm going to continue working on this, but this is like a script that finds the high and low peaks. Based on that, makes a clustering that is like an unsupervised machine learning technique to cluster the peaks and all that stuff. So then we can put like the orders on those resistant support levels. But well, this is a little bit more advanced for now. But well, I was going to show you, the next script that is going to be the funding rate arbitrage. That is another common thing that you can do with a V2 framework too. So let me open a new terminal, activate Hummingbot. I don't know if you're familiar with the funding rate arbitrage. If not, I have here small. I'm going to create a video showcasing this strategy soon, so then you can review.
I'll answer a few questions as you're going through this from the chat. So I think like as you see, like we're still building out the V2 framework. So I do think that for cohort 7, it's probably gonna be more focused on like order book exchanges and it's like more like and kind of like doing things like this. On the DEX side, we do have the arbitrage executor that people can use. We're planning to build out a LP executor that will kind of help you automate positions on kind of like basically V3 AMMs where you can set concentrated liquidity ranges. But support on the DEX side will kind of like, I would say, lag behind support for sexes for a while, just because the DEX side is newer. But so I would say if you really want to focus on DEXs, would probably recommend waiting to cohort 8. I think we'll have more kind of support for DEXs at that point. If you really want to do just like a simple arbitrage, I do think we can help you build that in cohort 7. But anything more advanced, I think I would actually probably recommend waiting to cohort 8. I think one question from YY here, which is, do we have incentives for devs to build connectors for other ecosystems, not EVM, for example? We actually started this bounties process recently that allows DEXs to like basically, kind of like use our system to hire devs to build connectors for their DEXs. So we actually have one, I think, outstanding for Dexalot right now. We may have more in the future for both sexes and DEXs, but we're kind of just starting that right now. So we're kind of still working with the exchange side to kind of help them understand how it works and use our bounty system to basically get their connectors built. But currently, it's like this actually been happening kind of offline for a while. Like there's kind of this black market, if you will, of devs who've been building connectors for various DEXs. But now we're trying to organize it and kind of have that flow through us, so we can basically act as like a stamp of authority and be able to approve and test connectors and ensure that they're being built to a certain standard. But I think if you're interested in building that, bookmark our bounties board. I'll put a link here in the chat. We should have more bounties from basically DEXs in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is a quick explanation just to show you the script. You understand what I'm showing. Usually the funding rate is very common right now. I don't know if you heard about Athena, all the synthetic USD that they are trying to build. But usually the funding rate is something that the exchange, something that happens in the derivative exchange, like web connectors. And usually you have like a mark price and index price. So the index price is like the reference price that is usually composed by other spot prices of other exchanges on the same exchange. So what this funding is measuring is the deviation from the mark price to the index price, and they are giving like incentives for the traders to go, I don't know, for example, if the mark price is higher than the index price, they're going to give incentives to go short in the market, so the prices are like in an equilibrium again. So if the funding rate is positive, the traders that are in long will pay the short. And if it's negative, the short will pay long. So for example, in this case, if we're talking about TON, if it's negative, long pays short. So in this case, we would like to go short on Binance because it's the one that pays the more, right? It's going to pay 0.5. And this one that are positive, 0.1 and 0.3, the short will pay long. So we would like to go long in one of these combinations. So in this case, we would like to go short in Binance because we are going to get paid 0.5%, and we are going to go long on OKX since we are going to get paid also 0.3. So our revenue will be 0.8. that is like a high level explanation of the funding rate strategy. This is also a script on Hummingbot. I will show the bot, Docker attach bot 2. So as you can see, the controller of Pepe had 2 stop loss and lost $5. The one for Matic, $9. So the overall P&L was like $4. This is one that I started yesterday, like 12 hours ago. And we traded 11K. So it's not bad. Well, coming back to this, let me run the funding script. So as you can see, it's loading. Okay. As you can see, here we have the rates as I show in the table before. This is like a daily profitability. And what we are going to measure is, first of all, we are going to find the best path between all these tokens. These are like very important tokens. So usually the opportunity is not going to be here, but you need to find like the best path to do this arbitrage. So the first table shows like the current values of the funding rate, and the second table shows the best path for each token. So for example, in Sol, it says that the best path is OKX and Hyperliquid. And makes sense because this is 0.058 and this is 0.03 and 0.03. So the biggest difference will be between this and this. And we are going to go short on OKX and long in Hyperliquid. And this says that this rate difference will pay us 0.2% or 0.028% per day. So it's not so big. So that's why the funding arbitrage probably is not going to be in these tokens. And we also have here the trade profitability of entering or going long and short with the fees that we are going to pay in the middle. We also have how many days we need to collect the funding rate diff to get the trade profitability that we are missing when we are going to enter into a trade, and how many days we need to hold the 2 positions to get the take profit that we are looking for. That in this case is like 1%. So this is like another type of a script that you can run in Hummingbot. Now let's go into the last script that is work in progress, but we are like working on a cross-exchange market making executor. Cross-exchange. Okay, I will quick start.
But before you start, I just want to highlight how cool that funding rate arbitrage script is, because it's kind of like you can basically replicate your own Athena. So, because it's kind of like basically the way Athena works is that they're basically just doing this, but just on ETH across all the different exchanges. And now they've added BTC. So now they're doing BTC, long, short across different exchanges. But in theory, this is not limited to just ETH and BTC, as you can see here. You can basically do this trade on any combination of tokens, on any combination of exchanges, right? So I personally I really like these kind of strategies because I have a background in fixed income. So I used to create bonds and options and those kind of things. So to me, I'm like a bond guy. I like investments that I can just run and earn a yield, on that without risking and so I think to me, I will probably likely run these kind of strategies because it kind of fits my trading personality. And I think Fede will likely run more of the degen, grid and market making kind of strategy because he's more aggressive as a trader. But my point is more I think what we want to teach in these cohorts is it's almost like whatever style of trader you are, whatever design that you have in your head for how to build a strategy, you should be able to do that in Hummingbot. So this kind of strategy, it's kind of like if you were going to even build a new version of Athena, you probably want to run this because this will help you kind of manage your position across the different exchanges you're doing this. But I do think that this trade is likely going to persist for a while because it's kind of like with market volatility, there's many exchanges that are paying funding rates, and there's always a combination, that's you can clip a difference in terms of funding rate across different exchanges. So I think the key will be, it's likely the top tokens like Solana, Doge, and Ethereum, the opportunities will be very small unless you go into very long tail tokens or long tail exchanges. But if you look for smaller tokens, there should also be any opportunities for this. So I also finally I want to answer a question from Zank. what is the minimum in terms of investment capital to start being a market maker? In other words, how much money should I have at exchange as a starting point? This is actually a pretty common question that we get. And I think it's natural, because and I say what I actually think is a lot smaller than you would expect. And the reason is because in most exchanges, the fees you pay are a percentage of your overall trade. So it's like you're paying 0.1% on a trade. So that's why when we run bots, we typically start with like $50 or like even like $100 or less on an account, because we're trying to understand how much can we make in percentage terms, because your fees are percentages. And then if you scale that up, usually the more money you have, the less money you'll make on that, because now you're constrained by size and other factors like that. So yeah, my recommendation, we start with like $100 and really kind of like experiment with that strategy until you're kind of like positive that you want that is working, and then you can deploy more capital into it.
Yeah, I think that $100 is enough, at least for perpetuals. That is what I like to trade the most, is enough to $80. You can play with $100 for more than 2 or 3 months. And I totally recommend to, usually my recommendation is to run a lot of strategies with a few capital to each, because I'm trading like, I don't know, right now with bots like more than 3 years. And what I found is that I never knew someone that has a strategy that wins all the time. You always need to predict and design your operations for the failure. It's like that you're going to fail. You know that your strategy is going to have stop loss. So the best way is to design your strategies with stop loss, design your strategies to lose money, and allocate a few capital to each sub strategy. So in the average of the strategies, you make money. I think that $100 is enough. Usually, you're not going to be able to trade on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, the minimum order amount is $100 in perpetuals. But yeah, you can trade in other type of market.
Yeah, and actually, what I just mentioned about kind of like allocating a small amount of capital to different strategies, that is actually how professional market making firms, like that's how they really make money. So if you look at like basically all the quant funds, it's like, yeah, they basically have like different pockets of strategies. Each one is like basically gated. And so, I mean, even Millennium or Citadel, that's how they operate. So what we're basically teaching you is you as an individual can replicate the same setup as like the top quant funds just by yourself using Hummingbot.
Yeah.
Feel free to talk with voice if you want. This conversation, feel free to unmute yourself and just ask questions.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Wow, thank you so much for all the explanations. I mean, you guys have an amazing work. I actually came across your software, a few years ago, but I found it to be so overwhelming that I then didn't took the time to break through, right? To hit the wall and then get over it. But for some reason I came across you guys again, and mainly because I saw the Botcamp. I said, wow, that's amazing. We're going to have the chance to learn from, the masters, and, amazing opportunity. Thank you so much. But then I ran into the big investment that you need to make in order to participate in the Botcamp. I mean, value is there for sure. Sometimes we are short in capital, right? But you mentioned, I don't know if I understood correctly, but you mentioned that you will release a smaller version of the Botcamp, or like a course later this year that will be more affordable. And I mean, if you could talk more about this course that you're gonna provide us, and I guess this is a very good starting point for a total beginner. And
yeah, definitely. Actually, so we actually should be introducing the first course pretty soon, in like the next 2 weeks. But those courses actually I think will be a better fit for beginners, because they will walk you through just like what is a algo trading strategy, and you can run like a basic one out there. So one thing I would find is it's more just like I think learning algo trading is like a journey. So it's kind of like, I think if you really want to make money, you probably have to build something more complex. So that's kind of like why we designed this cohort model, is like to help you build something fairly complex, so that if you want to kind of do it really seriously or professionally, then it's kind of worth the investment. However, if you're just an individual, you want to learn, I do think the courses will be a better option. So the courses are basically like pre-recorded videos where we kind of walk through the theory of the trading strategy and then walk through the implementation. But these would be like simple strategy. This is like the first one would be like a very simple VWAP strategy. It just helps you like buy or sell a block of tokens over time. So like a very simple bot, and then we'll kind of go into slightly more complex bots like market making strategies and directional strategies. Those courses, I think they'll be like the price point would be like $100 to $500 depending on like how many you buy. But each one should be about like my guess is like between 5 to 10 hours to complete in full. If you kind of like watch the videos and kind of go through the coding challenge.
Hey, thank you. One more question, if I may. Mm-hmm. I see from Federico that he's running these strategies, and I also noticed there is like a community. Is there out there some ready-made, at least like a template that we can start getting our feet wet, already putting some money, you know what I mean, to really feel the emotions that you go through, to already practice having those emotions as well. Is there something that we can like use as a template and get started as like next week?
So you can actually do this now because like even the strategy that Fede is running, I believe this is like a pull request open on our GitHub right now. So you can actually already just download Hummingbot, run this strategy, just input it yourself. So it's kind of like I do think that it's kind of like so Hummingbot already the community, and you can already kind of like start playing around with yourself. But the courses and cohorts will kind of give more like hands-on instruction into like customizing and designing yourself. So yeah, if you just want to run it, you can already do that, I guess.
Okay, thank you. I will definitely do the course, man. It's a good opportunity to learn for sure. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to produce these things. So I guess this overwhelming aspect of it will eventually be gone.
Yeah, and I totally sympathize because I do think that it's like when we first built Hummingbot, we try to kind of serve the more professional user. So that's why it can be very overwhelming. I do think that as we add more Botcamp content, and I think as the V2 framework, there's more like examples of people using it in different ways and more templates, I think it'll get easier to use. But I think there is quite a lot to learn, in part because I think it's just a very competitive environment, and like the best opportunities are usually in some like new exchange or new trading strategy people are still discovering.
Yeah. Again, thank you. I won't take much of your time. Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome. Well, the last one that I would like to show, this one that I have been building this week. As you can see, I don't know if you remember or you are familiar with the cross-exchange market making strategy. This is like a reversion of it. I think that is much more powerful, and not because I did it, but because it has a different way to replace the orders that I think that is much more smarter. And what we have is a target profitability is how much money we want to make with the arbitrage when we place the order, which is the mean profitability to refresh that order and place it again into a target profitability, and which is the maximum profitability that we are going to allow to also replace the order and put it closer. So what this strategy does basically is you see this market that is OKX, see that the top bid and ask is like 0.379 and 381. So it's like the spread is very, very, very tight. They have like 0.002 of distance. If you check KuCoin instead, KuCoin has 3, 7, 8, and 3. So the spread here is much more bigger than the spread that we have in OKX. So what is this strategy for? The idea is that this strategy will provide liquidity in an illiquid exchange like KuCoin. So it's like we're going to place the orders here, and once the order gets filled, we are going to go and buy market in this exchange. So it's like doing arbitrage, but the main difference is that the arbitrage, the pure arbitrage, uses 2 market orders, and this type of arbitrage uses a limit order that is placed in a liquid exchange like this. And once that limit order gets filled, automatically we arbitrage in the liquid exchange. So, well, what we are going to define here is okay, we are going to target a profitability of 0.3%. If the profitability goes below 0.1, we are going to replace the order up to 0.3%. And if the order gets away 0.6%, we're going to refresh it again too. So if I run this strategy, I just coded this component I started last week. And yesterday I finished like the basics, did my first arbitrage yesterday, so I was very happy. So, well, as you can see, here we have the information of the active executors. We have the maker side buy. So this explains that this executor is the one that has the limit buy order on KuCoin in this trading pair and is waiting for the taker on this trading pair. The mean profitability, the target profitability, the maximum profitability, that is, these things are the ones that we define the config, and the current profitability, that is 0.31%. And here we have some information that is the real trade profitability between KuCoin and OKX, if the order gets filled, will be 0.52, and the trade cost is 0.21%. That's why the current profitability is 0.31. And then we have the taker result price, that is the price that we should have in OKX if we if we sell market, and this is the one if we buy market. Remember that it's arbitrage. So if we buy in one exchange, we have to sell in the other exchange. If we see this in the graph, you see that in the chart, you see that here we are placing the orders in KuCoin. And the great thing is that, see that we are on the top of the book. We are the first here waiting for this order to get filled. So if someone goes and sells, then all RB in KuCoin, we are going to do an arbitrage because we are buying at 0.382 and we are going to sell at 0.385. So that spread makes us profitable. So the crazy thing is that sometimes the exchange has like preference from one side and sometimes for the other side. So then the crazy thing is how you can automate your script to rebalance based on profitability and trading all the time. So, well, these are like 3 demos that I did. If someone wants to sell 10 RB in KuCoin and makes the arbitrage, we will do it. No, just kidding. But these are the 3 demos. These are like 3 things that you can now do with the B2 framework. And also I didn't show the TWAP, but there is a script in the code base that shows how to run a TWAP and buy every X amount of time in the market. Well, that script is also another component. The TWAP executor is another component that you can use, but this is how to showcase the power of the B2 framework, which are like all the things that you can do. Now we have PNL negative in 0.03 cents, but we traded like 1.6K in 39 minutes. Oh, well, it's actually good.
I just want to address one question I think we got from the audience. So I think Koi asks, can we still benefit from the early bird discount for Cohort 7? Unfortunately, not, because we're kind of using Cohort 7 as like a beta to really make sure we can kind of provide a good experience for students. So we're actually kind of happy with the current total we have right now because we want to deliver a good experience. The early bird is still available for Cohort 8. I think right now it's a bit over $2,000 or so. But more philosophically, over time, the cohort prices will probably go up over time because we're trying to kind of like reserve those for like a hands-on experience for people who kind of like or want to do like market making like professionally almost. So that's why I think what we'll try to do is we'll try to keep the course price lower or even make like provide some free previews over time on the courses, actually more like pre-recorded content that you can consume. And so it's kind of like we'll try to have that be our lower price offering, but because the cohorts are kind of designed to teach like what people want to build, and it's like the cohorts will kind of be the cutting edge kind of content, kind of probably increase the price over time rather than decrease. But you can think of it as like we'll be adding the cohort content and creating the courses from them over time. So if you kind of like I would say if you kind of just want to wait like a few months, you can probably kind of access the same content we're teaching in the cohorts, the courses as well. So I hope that overall, I think the philosophy behind Botcamp is we kind of want to be the educational, like layer for algo trading generally. So that's why actually, even beyond what we're doing with Hummingbot right now, we're actually kind of running a lot of experiments internally in terms of like just generally like how do we kind of allocate capital, toward crypto, either like market making or just like staking or lending and just generating income from our positions in crypto. So that's why I think over time we'll probably add more general content. Not just like running a trading bot, but also it's like how do you actually make money in crypto? Because ultimately that's kind of why we're all here, right? So I think that, and that's why I think I would say, but I think to be honest, like I'm still learning that myself. I think we're all learning like how to run bots, how to like what kind of risks to take, what kind of risks not to take. But hopefully we can kind of learn that together, teach it, and try to help people out there kind of make as much money as possible. Cool. Well, so I think that pretty much wraps up our info session. We'll probably do another one of these probably like before cohort 8, likely in June. But hopefully this session kind of helps you understand, like what we're offering, Botcamp, and how it kind of like, matches what Hummingbot is as an open source project. So Hummingbot asks, when we're assigned to groups in Botcamp, how much control do we have as an individual to direct what we work on? So actually quite a lot. So we actually don't really assign. We basically, it's kind of like, we do encourage people to team up more so that people who have trading experience, can match with someone who has like, let's say technical experience, and they can form a team and build something better together. However, the reason we kind of offer the cohort model is to provide individual instruction. So if you want to build it yourself, you can, and we'll help you build whatever you want to build. What we've found in the past, however, is that some of the users who just have no technical experience whatsoever, it's hard for them to actually get the most out of the program. So it's for those users that we try to encourage them to team up, or, for that matter, to kind of like take cohort 8, which is designed for less technical users. Okay, so yeah, so I said a market making deal ready, and you want to take the course and have the knowledge you want to implement real strategy. So yeah, so I would say if it's urgent, I would encourage you to take cohort 7. I can be your mentor. I can show you how to implement the strategy. But we are going to focus on kind of market making strategies in particular for cohort 8. So cohort 8 will be like full on market making. But if you want to, I know that sometimes the market makers have urgency. So yeah, if you want to actually learn market making and there's urgency involved in terms of time, take cohort 7. I'll be your mentor, and I can help you, or me and Fede, and we can help you design a strategy for your, for your real life use case. But I do think that cohort 8, because we see this need quite a lot from both professional market makers as well as token projects. We are going to try to focus cohort 8 specifically on market. How much crypto background is needed to run market making strategies? I would say it's always helpful, but it's actually pretty simple market making at a very basic level. So I don't think you need a lot of crypto background to understand it, but I think having some knowledge of finance, as well as having some knowledge of like how exchanges work, is always helpful. But I think the crypto piece, I think it's more like, I think if you understand the DEX side, you kind of probably do need to understand the crypto piece. But if you just want to kind of run market making strategies on central exchanges, you probably don't need that. Okay, well, hopefully that addresses the questions that people have out there. If you want to just kind of get more info, you can always just ping us on Discord as well. The Discord is kind of like our community hub for both Botcamp and also the general Hummingbot community. You can always ask questions there. So thanks everyone. I really appreciate all the time that people have put into this, watching this info session. And we'll also record it on YouTube as well. Hummingbot says Fedo's concerned. I think it's probably he's probably just looking at his bot and monitoring his bots right now.
Yeah, I was looking at what position that is also open. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would say just we're a small team, so it's you're going to get hands-on attention from me, Fede, and the other folks who take the cohorts. But overall, we're also learning too. So hopefully we can all learn together. All right, everyone. We'll see you on Discord, and end it here.
Bye bye.